In this lesson, we'll discuss animating subtleties in a camera to have that handheld type of feel. Animating subtle shifts in a camera can add so much more life to our shots. At the same time, it can be quite tricky, and a lot of times people run into the problem where it looks like the camera is floating rather than someone actually holding this camera and looking at what's happening in the scene. So let's go ahead and discuss how to go about by doing this convincingly. Now, what I'd recommend doing is actually studying handheld footage and then mimicking that in 3D. Another thing you could do is really focus on your stare. Let's say if you wanted the camera to behave as an eye. Really look at what happens when you stare at a certain object and then recreate that in 3D. That's a good exercise. And another thing, when we do animate the camera, rather than have it float around, try to add dirt to the animation and add holds. Add points where you kind of hold for just a few frames and then shift the camera slightly. But it's all about creating this convincing eye type of animation through the camera. So with that said, what we have in this scene is our character scared, and we have a set of eyes that are shifting, and what we'll do is have the camera focus on our character, and then we'll have the camera take a look at the eyes, almost as if we thought we saw something move at the corner, but we're not too sure because the eyes shift back. So we're going to create that type of effect in our camera animation. So let's go ahead and get started. Under the Create panel, we'll go ahead and create a free camera. Now I'll just create this in front of the character, and then we can fix its orientation. Turning on angle snap, you can go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees up in the X, 180 degrees over in the Y axis, and we could just bring this up. From here, we'll want to go ahead and head over to Views, Viewport Configuration, and again choose the 2-pane layout. Okay, so from here, I'll go ahead and switch this perspective on the left side to our shot camera and fix the view. And again, we want to make sure that show frames or save frames is going to be turned on. Just press Shift F. Okay, now we don't want our character totally centered. And again, we'll discuss that later on when we discuss the rule of thirds. But once we've made sure that save frames is turned on and we have our character focused through the camera, as we see here, we're ready to go ahead and begin animating this. So what I'd like to start with is just a nice little shift of the camera. Just going in one direction. Let's say on about frame 33, we can go ahead and subtly shift the camera over to our left. And then we could add a little bit of rotation too. Just a slight rotation to the left. And it's a good idea to go ahead and turn off angle snap. Then I'll also go ahead and rotate it up. Okay, so here's what we get so far, just this nice little shift. What we could do for clarity is just go ahead and take the key on frame 0 and add that to frame 1. So I'll go ahead and hold down Control Alt and drag with the left mouse button over to our right. There's that key on frame 0. We'll just bring that over to frame 1. Holding down Control Alt again, we'll use the left mouse button to drag that back over so our start frame is frame 1. Alright, so we have the cameras shifting, and then the eyes, now they are looking at the character and looking back, so we want this motion to be real quick. So let's say on frame 39, we go ahead and have the camera kind of shift over a little bit more and rotate it over and up to look at the picture. So if we were to focus on our shot camera, here's what we have so far. A nice little quick head turn, we could say. Okay, and we'll want to have this hold for some time. When doing this, we want to make sure that we have enough time to make this convincing. So we'll act as if the camera is really studying this area for for several frames. Let's say to about frame 61, we'll add a hold. We'll just set a key. Checking our key filters, we can make sure position and rotation will be keyed. We'll go ahead and set a key to add a hold. So we're breaking this up layer by layer. We add the base motion first, and then we can go in and add some extra shifts and extra dirt to our F curves to add some more subtlety and subtleties and make this look believable. All right, so from here, let's say we have a slow head turn where the camera focuses back on the character. Almost like, I thought I saw something, but maybe not. So let's say on 84, we go ahead and take the key from frame 33, and we'll just clone that to 84. So we'll head over to 84, hold down Shift, and drag the key from 33 to 84. That's a quick way to bring that camera back. Okay, and then to finish, we can go to our last frame and just add a slight shift. So going back to our perspective, we can go ahead and have this camera shift very slightly to our right and up. So let's see what we get so far if we were to just go ahead and focus in on our shot camera and hit play. All right. So there we have it. And again, we've created this illusion of, hey, something just happened, something moved. What was it? Was it the picture? And then the camera looks back. So from here, what we'd want to do is just go through and add a little bit of dirt to this, adding some extra subtleties to make it look as if this camera was handheld. So going back through this, let's say we go ahead and animate some extra rotation to this. And I'll actually go ahead and bring back the curve editor. That might be the best way to do this so we don't move the camera too much. I'll focus on the rotation X, the up and down motion. And here's what we don't want, these flat lines. So I'll go ahead and move over to about frame 51. I'll use the add keys tool to just add an offset, bringing this key down, which is almost like recoil. We have the head move up, and then for a little bit of recoil, we have it move down and then move back up again when we get to about 61. So we'll go ahead and focus in on our shot camera, see how this looks. Nice. Now that might be a little bit too much, so I'll go ahead and head over back to the curve editor, zoom into this key, and switching the move key tool to move vertical keys, I'll go ahead and just move this up just a little bit more. And then switching this back over to the move key tool, I'll go ahead and select the keys that surround it and add more curvature to the F curve, just so we have something a little bit more smoother in the end. So if we hit play, here's what we get. Okay, great. What would also be a good idea is to go ahead and take this last key here of the rotation X on frame 61, and let's go ahead and delay that at just a few frames. So we'll move it to frame 63, just so that our keys aren't landing on the same frames, causing our motion to look linear. Okay, great. So from here, we can go ahead and add some more arc to our camera and the rotation Z. That's the side-to-side turning of the camera. Again, just to make this look more believable. So I'll go to the curve editor, head over to the rotate Z. Let's see, we add this arc at about this midpoint here on our rotate Z F curve. So I'll go ahead and head back over to the add keys tool and right click, head over back to move keys. And I'll just go ahead and bring this down. And it's a good idea to go ahead and turn on interactive update. So go ahead and just move this down just a little bit more, and we can go ahead and fix the curvature of our F curve. I'd say for this key on frame 61, we may not even need it. Let's go ahead and delete that. We'll take the key on 49, and while holding down Control, we can go ahead and just drag that out a little bit more to have more of a hold here to improve our arc. So if we hit play, here's what we get. Very nice. Now that might be a little bit too much movement to our right, so I'll go ahead and head back over to that key, really zoom in on it, and while holding down Control, I'll go ahead and drag it up. This will lock our motion either vertically or horizontally. All right, let's see how this looks. Hit play. Much better. All right, great. So this is really coming together. Okay, I'd say from here what we could do is just add some extra shifts in our translation. And then in the end what we'll do is go ahead and work with the field of view parameter to really zoom in on that frame. So we'll just go to 72 here and just add a slight positional offset. Okay, not much at all. And then on 92, we'll go ahead and do the same, just a slight shift over to our left. Let's see how this looks if we were to go ahead and focus in on the animation through the shot camera. Very nice. Okay, so let's finish up by adding a zoom. So with the camera still selected, we'll head over to the Modify panel, and here's what we want to adjust the field of view parameter. So let's say on about 33, we add our hold here where the camera is at its original state. So I'll go ahead and hold down Shift and right click on the field of view parameter to set a key. Now we want the camera to zoom in right when the camera shifts over to focus on that frame. So on 39, we'll go there and we'll go ahead and zoom that camera in. Say to about a value of 30 would be good. Okay, we'll want it to hold there until about frame 61, when the camera starts to move back to the character. So on 61, we'll go ahead and hold down Shift, right click to set a key to lock that value in. And then on 84, we'll go ahead and bring it back to its original value of 45. Okay, let's see what this gives us now. So we hit play. Okay, there we have it. So we've learned how to create a subtle camera animation in this lesson. And again, really study the footage of a handheld camera and really study what you're looking at. Study what you're looking at through your eyes and see what your head does as you're staring at certain objects. And from that, you'll get a good idea of how to animate the camera in a way where it moves subtly and convincingly. And again, we don't want our camera to float around at all. So make sure to add dirt to your F curves. That's where we just add extra keys and offset them so we don't have this linear path of action. And also make sure to add holds. We don't want this camera, again, just floating around with no purpose. It needs to feel as if someone is looking in our shot.